as the year winds down and we look to leave 2020 in the rearview mirror. I still want to talk small business with our regular contributor, and we're going once again via Zoom to Sydney. Her name is Angela Vithoulkas. Welcome, Ange.
Hi.
I'm very, very keen to talk to you about a subject that's been burning brightly in the background, because as we come to the end of the year, I'm trying to think of all the good things, and suddenly I remember that there is a thing about being big and the word associating bad with it. Now, we're seeing a lot of big businesses get away with a whole bunch of things as we near the end of 2020. Somehow, if you're a small business owner, the same rules don't apply to you. Now, am I missing something here, or is that indeed the case that you see happening time and time and time again?
Well, we're both missing something. If it's not just you, George. The horrible thing is, and as I made the statement, big is bad at the moment, because it seems that the bigger the entity, the more they get away with. Now, the good news is that the ACCC is trying to hold some of these big entities to account. But the sad part there is that it seems to be like water off a duck's back. And because they're so profound, I wanted to make sure I have like 5 pages of notes, because I don't want to miss any of their deceptive, and I should say alleged deceptive and misleading conduct, because it still is in the federal courts. But they are of mentionable, let's say, content here.
Okay,
so if I might start.
Yep.
And let's highlight, George, that we've got big government departments within the ATO called the Black Economy, who are looking at really, annihilating anyone that uses cash, like going down to the markets, the potato farmer, etc. So they're naming and shaming these small business owners who deal with cash and refuse to use merchant facilities. And yet these bigger entities seem to get away with misleading conduct that actually ends up taking down a small business owner. So let's point out the most noteworthy at the moment, one of my favourite repeat offenders.
Who is it?
The RFG Group, the Retail Food Group. Look, they're a company that owns lots of brands like Michelle's Patisserie and Donut King, and we're not talking about any one particular brand here, but the ACCC's pulled them up because they gave misleading information while they were selling 42 of their poor performing brands, and they didn't reveal to these small business owners who were buying them the extent of the loss making of these businesses. You want me to tell you why, George?
Go ahead.
They said they just didn't have all the information to determine the sales of those businesses.
And the last thing that we can accuse them of is not knowing the numbers. And if they're putting things up for sale, they know every dollar. They're
a franchise. They not only know where every dollar is, but that's how they earn their levies, is because they take a percentage of the sales of that franchise.
Correct. And they probably even have a strike order. They probably have the top 20, top 50, top 100.
So apart from the fact that they've been misusing the marketing levies that they charge these small business owners, apart from that, they also didn't reveal the information that they said they had, it's very disappointing. Now, if we go to the next part of this, they're in court, the hearings have come about, RFG gets to put their case forward. I need to grab this.
Go on.
Because I want to quote exactly, George. Here's what RFG said in court. Even if the allegations did happen, let's put them in the past.
So we're happy to go to the rearview mirror straight away.
Even if they happened, we need to move forward. Yeah. The reason they gave that is because all this publicity and opening these wounds is just going to cause more angst for their small business owners, and that's not fair for them, George.
I've heard this conversation before, or this strategy before. There's nothing more that we should prosecute here, because it's been asked and answered. No. The reason why it's being asked and re-asked is because there are serious problems. And it appears to be a clear strategy to behave in this manner because they've got away with it in the past, and they'll go back to that form guide again, and they expect to get off this time too.
Now, they're not the only culprits here that have made my naughty list for 2020. Uber Eats.
Oh, okay.
Uber Eats.
Okay.
Now, this is very sad because we've had 5 deaths in Australia from food delivery drivers, and one of those deaths, the matter's being brought against Uber Eats on a workers' compensation claim.
So we're talking safety. We're talking safety, road safety here, are we not?
We are talking road safety, but we're also talking about whether these drivers are contractors or employees. So it's okay, apparently, for a big entity like Uber drivers, Uber Eats, to classify themselves as being part of the gig economy and a tech platform or a booking platform as opposed to actually employing people. Now, let's remember that the ATO has been coming down really hard on people like hairdressers for having contractors in their salons who they are saying are really employees. But it seems that Uber Eats and Uber drivers don't seem to come under the same legal standing. Now, this case is coming forward into the courts. Funnily enough, the unions are going to be persecuting this case because they think Uber Eats is liable, the driver should be classified or come under the criteria that fits an employee and therefore be eligible under the Workers' Compensation Act to get more like 800,000 as opposed to 400,000 or 500,000 that might be the basic policy.
When are we likely to get an outcome?
That's going to go on for some time, and it's going to be a test case because so far every other case that's gone forward has lost. Interestingly enough, one of the reasons that these previous cases have lost is because the court could not definitively say that it was Uber Eats in Australia that was liable because the driver signed a contract with a parent company from another country, so they can't trace back the ownership to here in Australia, so they're not liable.
It's like that fabulous line, make sure you read the fine print, being thrown up again.
It's horrible because we know they're not very well paid anyway, notoriously, these drivers or these riders in Uber Eats case, and to then have them exposed to an unsafe environment where they're not even covered by insurance. And then we have these families who have obviously lost a loved one and a breadwinner. Yeah,
no, well said. And again, thank you very much for raising the subject matter. It's all important. There are so many things that we need to address. We've had a year from hell, but if we're going to make things better, then 2021 has got to be on the right tack, and we've got to be following the argument from day one. And let's make sure that we can find out how these 2 particular cases that you've addressed or showcased turn out in 2021. Angela Vithoulkas, and we'll be with you. Angela Vithoulkas, talking small business on The Informer. Thank you, Angela, and all the best.